Before we get started, if you're watching this channel for the first time, hey, how are you? My name is Caleb, this is Reality Check, and we do tech-focused reviews. So why don't you mosey on down to that old subscribe button, give it a little press, and let's jump right into it. So it's time to talk about another beast of a laptop. Each brand has their heavy hitters, the one laptop in their lineup that basically trumps all others. MSI has the Titan, Asus has the ROG, and Alienware has the 17-inch R5, and this thing is a beast. Now, I did call it a laptop, but that's somewhat of a misnomer because it's more of a desktop replacement, and the weight and the performance definitely backs up that statement. We are rocking the base configuration with an 8th gen i7-8750H, a GTX 1060, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 1TB hybrid SSD, as well as a 1080p 60Hz refresh rate panel. Now, as appealing as that configuration sounds, when I first got my hands on this bad boy, it didn't really seem to justify how big and how heavy this thing was. I mean, it's almost 4 kilograms, bruv. But when you look at its top spec capacity, this thing can house an 8th gen i9, a full desktop 1080, and 32 gigs of RAM, it starts to make a little bit more sense. We've just got that low-end model. Aside from me moaning about how big and how heavy it is, there's no denying that this thing is incredibly well built. The metallic chassis feels really strong and robust, and the brushed metal finish just looks slick and sexy as all hell. The inner deck has virtually no flex or bend whatsoever, and the screen hinge is attached very firmly to the bottom chassis, so it's definitely a 2-finger lifter. It's also very easy to access the internals. You just remove a couple of screws on the bottom and it pops right out, and you'll see you have the option to upgrade your SSD as well as your RAM slots. Now, no gaming laptop would be complete without some RGB, and I feel like the R5 definitely delivers in that respect. So all the logos, the sides of the lid, the sides of the bottom of the chassis, the keyboard, and my personal favorite, the mouse pad, are all lit up with beautifully diffused RGB, which you can control with a multitude of different options for different zones through the Alienware Control Center app. So if you can get over how bulky and how heavy this thing is, it's definitely a looker. The R5 also has a great fully fledged keyboard with a 2.2mm press, so it has a great tactile response, a very mechanical feel, which I really like. They also have a whole lot of added on macro keys for media control and any games you might play, and I did enjoy the placement of these, even though it took a little bit getting used to, but it's great for games like League of Legends, Dota, anywhere where you'd need access to a lot of macro keys. It's built into the laptop, so that's dope. The touchpad is smooth and responsive, however there are no Windows precision drivers, and I personally prefer a metallic surface, but the glass surface feels good and it works well. It's just a little bit small, but let's be honest, you're not going to be using the mouse pad with this, you're going to be using an external mouse. The screen is a 1080p IPS panel with a 60Hz refresh rate, which with this configuration, the 1060 and the i7, makes a lot of sense, but you can also get it configured with a 120Hz QHD panel, so you definitely need the hardware to back it up if you went for that option. The speakers on the R5 were pleasantly surprising because I'm always, generally speaking, quite underwhelmed by laptop speakers, but these were dope. There's great bass, great clarity, very little harmonic distortion at any volume or any level, but I'm not going to waste the time. Let's just jump right into the binaural audio recording.
What's up, and we're here in our binaural audio recording setup, so you should be hearing that in your right ear, this in your left. It's helping us give you the most accurate representation of the sound quality that we can through a YouTube video. We're going to be using the G5 as a comparison against the R5 because they both have front-firing speakers, so you should be able to get a good idea of what you're getting from the Alienware R5. And without further ado, have a listen to this.
So objectively, that sound is dope, but let's talk about how this beast of a laptop performed, because man, this thing was running like a soft serve ice cream machine. Smooth, bro, smooth. In terms of gaming, this thing destroyed, bruv. Tomb Raider, please, man, you're gonna have to try harder. The Witcher 3 with those NVIDIA hairworks, please, bruh, child's play. Crysis 3, well, we might have to get back to you on that one. The The Cinebench scores were actually fairly surprising on the R5, but I think it's because it manages heat so well. It's got a really good thermal solution and the chassis is designed to disperse a lot of that heat. And then on top of that, it handled Premiere Pro quite nicely as well, rendering out 4K footage pretty easily and quickly, and then 1080p footage was no problem whatsoever. And then overall, I was just impressed with the performance. It's a good laptop. Now, clearly this thing can perform. I'd expect nothing less from that latest 8th gen hardware and a 1060, but it also seems to handle thermals quite well. So it's got 3 heat pipes, 2 big fans that get quite serious volume when they crank up, although I have heard louder, but it manages the thermals really decently with temperatures in between 80 and 90 degrees at full tilt. Although I imagine with an i9, this thing would get a lot hotter. But I'm gonna put the temperature at, I don't know, like tropical, like Hawaii. So that's basically it for the Alienware R5, guys. This thing is not the laptop that you're going to be carrying with you every day to and from work, unless you want severe back problems later on in life. It is exactly what it's trying to be, a desktop replacement. If you don't have a lot of money and you need one setup, but you find yourself, you know, going to uni and then 3 months later when you're on break, you go back home and you still want access to that premium gaming hardware, this is probably the option for you because you're moving it around once every 3 months. If you find yourself working from city to city on a month-to-month basis, let's say you're in Johannesburg for a month, you're in Cape Town for a month, and then you're in Durban for a month, and you're constantly switching and changing, but you want your laptop or your desktop with you at all times, then this is probably an option for you because as far as laptops go with this much power, it's fairly easy to just pop into your bag and take with you. Whilst we're on the topic of carrying this thing around, the bag that you get with it, people, this thing is super legit. Now, don't get me wrong, it's big, but it's well built and it will protect the laptop, and it comes free with the purchase of the R5. Now, speaking about prices, this thing costs 30,000 Rand. Now, make no mistake, that is not cheap. But as I said before, it's built, the chassis and all the internals are built to house something much more expensive than the base configuration that they provide. So at 30,000 Rand, it's definitely pricey, but you're guaranteed getting a phenomenal build quality, awesome RGB, everything that you'd expect with a high-end desktop replacement laptop. And that pretty much wraps it up with this installment of Reality Check. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about the Alienware 17-inch R5. Also, let me know what laptops you guys are using currently, if you'd ever move over to something as big as this for a desktop replacement. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, that little bell icon so you get notified when we upload new videos, and I'll catch you guys next time for another installment of Reality Check. Peace!
I got that dab, but it was just out of focus.
That's good.